This morning, I'm going to talk to you about a project that is called Narratives in the Suitcase. As we are gathered here today, we've all journeyed from far and wide to come to this marvelous conference. Coming to this place, we have carried with us things that are important, comforting, and sustaining of us during our stay here. Even though we have traveled from different parts of the world, each and every one of us sitting here this morning has a suitcase of some kind, placed somewhere in some corner or place of where you are currently living. I wonder if we were asked to all open our suitcases, what we would find. I'm sure you would agree with me that suitcases are pretty important in life. They allow us to carry our important possessions along with us, the things that we value and treasure. Some of these things have been passed down to us by loved ones. We have wonderful hopes and dreams for our lives. Certain items in our suitcases may inspire us and constantly remind us about what we are good at, what our lives are about, and even the important things in life. Some of the things that we carry in our suitcases remind us of important people and places. They bring back beautiful memories of happy times and joyous moments that we do not want to let go of. I'm pretty sure that if we all took time to look through our suitcases, we could find precious things in there that we would never want to travel without. We could tell several heartwarming stories about these things in ways that can energize and inspire us and others beyond imagination. If you have been seeking for possible entry points into second-story development, there we go. Suitcases can do the most wonderful thing. This is what I find is the beauty of narrative practice, that I can work with almost anything that makes sense to me and the people that I work with. Stories are all around us. They are embedded not only within the layers of our lives, but also within our possessions and our environment. The Narratives in the Suitcase project is an initiative that was developed to explore the stories of children who are on the move. Children on the move include refugees, children living on the streets, migrant children, and others. This project seeks to find out what children's movements are really about. It centers children on the move and allows them to describe their movements in ways that are more fitting for them. I got the inspiration to embark on this project from several conversations that I had had with a colleague of mine who works as a social worker in one of the shelters for children living on the streets in Johannesburg. Jay's stories about the children she works with at the shelter were heartbreaking and heavily characterized by notions that the children were out of control, wild, hopeless, directionless, and totally lacking in critical life skills that they need to help them to live productive lives. Jay described to me that the interventions offered at the shelter were inadequate and thus had no significant impact on the lives of the children. She explained that the children come to the shelter for a bath and a meal, and then off they go, back to the streets, and only to return for their next meal and bath. Being unable to adequately help the children was creating a huge sense of failure and inadequacy in Jay as a social worker. She believed in her heart that they could do more and better to help the young people. Jay's greatest concern was that the management at the shelter was very unconcerned and saw nothing wrong with the situation. She believed that it was so because when children are on the streets, the shelter remains in business. If the children get off the streets to join mainstream society, the shelter would no longer have clients and therefore would not need to exist. Being one who is very familiar with how failure and inadequacy can creep in when you run out of options and meaningful ways to support those who seek your help and services, I developed a desire and a longing to embark on a project that would support Jay in dealing with the challenges that she was facing in her work. From my own experience, I knew that the dominant story about children on the move, that is, that they are troublesome, good for nothing, hopeless, needy, and lacking direction, was in itself creating a lot of problems for both Jay and the children. The dominant story can make a therapist or a practitioner powerless and desperate. It gives one very little to work with. It limits the therapist's ability to see beyond the presenting problem and takes away energy and creativity that is needed to help those who seek our help and services. I knew that if I wanted to support Jay, I needed to help her to develop a broader understanding and appreciation of the lives of children that she was working with. Her knowledge and understanding about the children was very thin and narrow. I wanted to support her to arrive to an understanding that there is more to children's lives than the problems and the struggles that they face. That even though they may not have mentioned it, these young people had hopes and dreams and aspirations for their lives. South Africa today is flooded with children on the move. Some of these children travel unaccompanied from bordering countries. Others leave their homes within the country and end up on the streets. Many children move from rural areas into cities seeking a better life for themselves and their families. It takes a lot of courage for children to leave their homes, families, familiar territories, and/or countries of origin. At face value, however, these movements may be perceived as senseless and an inconvenience to others, but we have learned that they are largely bold steps taken in pursuit of a better life. Young people on the move want more and believe they can achieve greater things than their local context can offer them. They are pushed into these movements by their hopes and dreams and curiosity about what more life could offer. They dare to push the boundaries and unsettle the status quo. They bring to our faces the things that we would rather hide or not talk about, those things that we are not proud of, the things that happen behind closed doors in families and in communities, the inequalities and the injustices that prevail in our societies. These movements, I have learned, are sometimes a protest against abuse or an expression of disappointment or dissatisfaction about the goings-on in the young people's places of origin in relation to social issues, politics, and the economy. Stories about what children on the move, stories that are told about why children leave their homes and migrate to different countries or faraway regions are, however, very, very thinly described. They are largely told from the point of view of others and usually in dominant storylines tainted with a lot of negativity. Usually children on the move are viewed as having run away, abandoned families and communities, neglected special responsibilities, behaved badly, being troublesome and ungrateful and out of control, seeking trouble, and many other derogatory terms. These descriptions make those who should help children on the move engage with them in negative attitudes, always expecting the worst from them. Negative attitudes and expectations usually translate to poor service delivery and inadequate support and care. The narratives in the Suitcase project seeks to help children to give richer descriptions about what they are pursuing. So children sometimes get lost and deviate from the intended path due to the hardships faced on their journeys. Through the project, children who have deviated and gone off track are supported to find their way back. I find the suitcase to be a fitting metaphor to represent these movements that young people make. The image of children on the move carrying suitcases may encourage people to recognize that there is more to their lives, that they carry in them so many valuable things. And so I would like to take an opportunity at this point just to share with you some ideas around the Suitcase project. So when children have been given an opportunity to actually engage in a process of making suitcases, they have fun. It's a creative space. It's filled with laughter, sharing of jokes. They have an opportunity to tell alternative stories about their lives. Once the box is completed, the suitcase is used as a document that captures each child's story. The children can get even more creative and paint, draw pictures, paste pictures, and write on their boxes about the following: a picture or a symbol of one thing that they have had with them since embarking on their journey. They can write or remember a happy story about this item, the good times that they've enjoyed in their lives, things that make them happy, favorite people, and the reasons why they like these people, what they are proud about in their lives, their achievements, their talents, skills and relationships, favorite songs, artists and hobbies. Many children do not have an opportunity to have those kinds of stories told about their lives. And so this gives them a chance to be able to see their lives separate from the problems that they are so familiar with. So a completed suitcase becomes a document that captures children's alternative stories. So sometimes I've found it useful to work with already made suitcases, so it depends on the context and the availability of resources. Once the children have gone through the process, they have an opportunity to then sit together in what you would call a story circle, or in our context we would call an indaba, where they share about their stories. When the children share their stories, they are supported by this therapist or facilitator whose main function is to help to thicken the alternative stories. Some of these can be inquiries that are used in that particular process. What makes this a favorite or special memory for you? What have these important people contributed to your life? Where or from whom did you get the skills that you use to do the things that you say you are good at? Who are you usually with when you do the things that make you happy? Is there any way that you also contribute to the happiness of others? What is your favorite song about? Who else knows that this is your favorite song, etc.? And how do they know? I'm reminded of a story that a young girl called Rachel shared during this particular process. Rachel is a 14-year-old girl who has been living in a shelter for 7 months with a 5-month-old baby. She goes to school while his caregivers at the shelter take care of her baby. Rachel had been lured into prostitution by an older woman that she had trusted. Due to poverty and lack of support, she became a prostitute. Since being rescued, she was now determined to get an education, especially that it would help her to secure the future of her baby. Rachel had shared with Indaba that Auntie Kay, the owner of the shelter, was her favorite person in the world. When asked what makes Aunt Kay her favorite person, she explained that she had given up on her life and never imagined that she could ever leave that place. So when Rachel talks about that place, she's talking about the brothel. But Aunt Kay rescued her from that place, and now she has a family and a proper home. I asked Rachel what Aunt Kay had contributed to her life, and she said that she had been given a hope that she had lost. She said, I have found hope. I have found a purpose to move on and to live on with my life. She said that she felt happy and free, and also that she had a chance to be a good mother to her baby. I inquired further with Rachel about where she got the idea about being a good mother. And she said that when she grew up in the Western Cape, when her mother was still alive, she experienced her mother as very loving and caring. She said that her mother provided for her and her siblings and always encouraged them to do well. She said she would like to do the same for her baby. Sharing treasures. Back in the Indaba, or the story circle, children are invited to think about the hopes and dreams that they had when they made the decision to leave home, country, or community. What was it that they were in pursuit of? The values that they carried along with them, important memories of family and loved ones, how they have preserved these important things as they have journeyed along, the skills that they have used to hold on to these precious things, and the themes or the titles of their journeys. Shadrach, who is 17 years old, says, when I left Zimbabwe 3 years ago, I had been told by my friends that there is a lot of work in Johannesburg. I believed my friends and decided to come with them. My dream was to get a job so that I can send money to my grandmother and brothers and sisters because my parents died in 2006. It was hard in Zimbabwe. I could not stay there anymore. I asked Shadrach what he would say the main reason for leaving his country was, and he explained that it was about finding a job so that he could care for his family. I then asked him to tell me more about why this was important for him. He then explained that he is the oldest child in the family. His grandmother is old and his siblings are too young to look after themselves. So as the older brother, he has the responsibility to care for the family. I then asked Shadrach who else in his life knew that this was something important for him and how they might know this. His response was that his friends, Vusa and Majola, know. These are the people that I came with from Zimbabwe. He explained that his friends, that he shared a lot about his life with his friends, and that they've continued to support each other along the way. When I asked Shadrach to tell me what steps he was taking to realize his dream of finding a job, he explained that he's now attending a skills-building program for children living on the streets so that they can be employable. He told me that he has made a commitment to attend classes regularly because he has not forgotten his responsibility towards his family. So children are encouraged to share and talk to each other about these treasures that they have. They are also invited and encouraged to write a letter to someone that they would like to disclose or share this with. And this is usually someone who is out of the group. Once they have come up with the theme of their journeys, they are given an opportunity to document it in a way that is fitting for them. So some of the main themes that children usually bring out as they talk about the reasons why they have embarked on these journeys are around the hope for a better life, wanting better, wanting to be educated, seeking a bright future, and wanting to help family members. So we also have an opportunity to develop stories around the themes. And the facilitator working with the children may ask, is the theme that you have chosen for your journey important for your life? Say more why it is important for you. And who else may know that this is important for you? Who introduced you to the values that are expressed through your theme? What other important values did you bring along with you? And how have you been holding on to these values on your way? How do the memories of your loved ones support you on your journey? So part 3 of the project is around carrying my suitcase along. Children are invited to come up with a picture or an image or representation of their journeys. This highlights significant experiences that they have had along the way. It also supports them to see where they are in relation to their aspirations. It gives children an opportunity to make decisions and take positions about their future. So when they map their journeys, these are some of the very important things that need to be considered. Descriptions about the journey, the theme of the journey, where the journey started and where it is headed to, significant relationships encountered on the way, the things that have kept the child strong or encouraged him on his or her way, happy moments experienced along the way, challenges faced, and how these have been tackled, the skills and knowledge used to tackle problems, and valuable lessons learned along the way. So these are some of the images of the journeys that the children document. You will find that they really get very, very much involved physically, socially, emotionally, in every aspect as they do this work. I find that metaphors have that power to really invite children's participation in a very holistic manner. So they have an opportunity also to share their journeys with other children in the story circle, being supported by the counselor or the facilitator or therapist. When the children talk about their journeys, it is always important to invite them to think about where do they see themselves heading to, and who are the important people who will accompany them as they continue to journey on. What skills do they need to travel further, and what steps do they intend to take to achieve these dreams or goals? Who are the important people who will support or help them to move forward, and what things in their suitcase they would like to share with others? Melusi, a 19-year-old, says, "The suitcase is like my heart, and today I feel that I've been talking about the secret things that I have been thinking about, but have never had a chance to talk about, because people could think I am crazy." I asked him what kind of things these are, and he said, "I always have dreams of having a car, of having a house, and lots of money. I know that in my heart this will happen. I just know it." So I find that metaphors have supported me to have conversations with children in ways that they can easily relate their experiences. They support conversations and give children words which they might not otherwise have access to. They do not have to be fixed, however. They can be adapted and manipulated to fit the context, to fit the culture, and you work with them as you move ahead. So towards the end of this methodology, children have an opportunity to work together and put up a banner. In this part of the project, the children produce a banner that brings together their voices. The banner is a document that can be shared with a wider community for awareness raising and education. Children are given materials to create this banner. I've got a banner right behind me, which was put together by children that I worked with somewhere in Soweto. And so children really have a chance to work together, put their voice together, and they decide who they would like to be an audience to these messages that they put on the banner. And so I find it really encourages them to come together in solidarity, to talk about the things that they are proud of, but also to address the things that they would like to see change. Now, the methodology ends with a celebration and a certificate, and children at this point have an opportunity to invite whoever they may want to come to the celebration. And it is during this time that the banner is read out and the messages that they would want to be communicated are communicated. Thank you.